This is the Louie Tee Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime! So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Texans, Bengals, in another down-to-the-wire thriller, I guess. This was actually a fun game to watch in the second half. First half, until the 2-minute warning, wow, was this game bad. And the first half might have went in record time if not for the last 2 minutes of the first half. Literally, I looked back at my clock and it was 9:35 at the 2-minute mark, which means literally the first half was an hour, which is crazy for an NFL game. However, the last 2 minutes lasted about a good 15 to 20 minutes, which kind of prolonged the first half. But in any event, it's what we've become accustomed to with these two teams. Low-scoring affair in which the Houston Texans outlast the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw this, remember 2015, the year the Bengals were outstanding, undefeated Monday night? Similar type of game, similar type of score, defensive struggle. Bengals make one play, D-Hop in the end zone that night, gets it done, and they win the game with a similar score. I don't remember if it was 13-9, might have been something like 10-9 or something along those lines, but it was another one of these low-scoring affairs where Cincinnati couldn't muster any offense nor any points, and Houston had a great defensive performance and won the game. And that's what I pretty much thought this game was going to be. And we'll get in depth as to how the outcome of this game came to be. We'll talk about it from both teams' sides of things, and we'll look forward to these teams in week 3 playing against some tough opponents, as they noted on Thursday Night Football. So we'll get to all of that. But before we do, I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining me tonight on Thursday Night Football Overtime. If you're out there watching this video, you can chime in and have your voice be heard by using the hashtag Louie Tee Live on not only Twitter, but also in the discussion chat box. So use the hashtag Louie Tee Live if you want your comment read, as we will get to the comments at the end of this breakdown. I'll also check my Twitter tonight. If there are some comments there, we will get to those as well. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. Want you to be a part of that by simply hitting that subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie Tee Network. I'm also on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and give me a follow there. I'm also on Instagram. It's with a Z _me, Louie Tee, on IG. Hit me up. And also, I am on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. So let's get to the proceedings this evening, and we start with the winners in this game. Texans run their record to 1-1 on the season with a tough and gritty road victory. No, it was not a thing of beauty. It was not aesthetically pleasing, but this is what you expected with a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road in a tough environment. Happy birthday, first and foremost, to Deshaun Watson. That's a great birthday gift on your 22nd birthday, to make your first career start and to win your first career start on primetime television for all the world to see. I thought he handled himself well tonight. He was poised. Almost made a mistake early. Darquez Dennard should have picked that off. But other than that, I thought he did a really good job of just taking what the defense was giving him. I didn't love the play calling. I never loved the play calling in Houston. Last year, we blamed George Godsey for all the bad play calling with Brock Osweiler. Now it's all on Bill O'Brien. We'll get to the play calling a little bit later on, but let's talk about the things that led to this Texans victory. And you got to start first with the defense. They were outstanding in this game, and I can't say enough about this defense. At one point, I felt bad for them because they were dog tired in this football game. There were a couple of instances in the first half where I'm like, this defense isn't going to last if Bill O'Brien's going to run it on first down, run it on second down, and then try to throw it on third and long, or run it on first down, run it on second down, and run it on third down, or try to throw it on first down, incomplete, run it on second down, run it on third down, and punt. Either way, these 3 and outs were going to kill this defense, and they hung tough. Arguably, the biggest play of the game was the forced fumble by Kareem Jackson of John Ross, which was a great play by Clowney to not only catch it and then hold it like a piece of paper, or as Mike Tirico said, like a smartphone. As he palmed the football, I'm screaming at him, "Hey, bro, you got some defenders chasing you down from behind." He said, "I got it, man. I got it." Cuts inside, puts it away. And that led to the first points of the game, a field goal for the Texans. But more importantly, the Cincinnati Bengals were going to get points on that possession. They were already in field goal range had John Ross just went down. But instead, fumbling that football, flipped not only the field position, but gave the Texans a scoring opportunity and took points and a scoring opportunity off the scoreboard for Cincinnati. That was probably the biggest play of the game. This defense was outstanding. Even though I thought they didn't get enough pressure on Dalton, they did enough to affect Dalton in terms of, and I shouldn't say that, they got enough pressure on Dalton. They didn't get enough sacks, but their pressure forced Dalton out of the pocket. And look, Dalton already came into this game knowing, I don't have a ton of time back here. He was already uncomfortable before the snap. So he knew clock going off in my head a little bit sooner than it would have last year or the year before, because this offensive line is vastly different. Got those tackles, Abuehi and Fisher were getting bull rushed all game long. Watt and Clowney didn't even try to win with speed on the outside for the most part. They were going right at those tackles and collapsing the pocket, which forced Dalton to have to escape and flush the pocket. And a lot of his throws came outside of the pocket off balance, either out of bounds or forcing it to a receiver down close to the sideline. So I thought they did a really good job of not allowing Andy Dalton to sit in the pocket and have time, especially because that secondary was banged up. You sustain a couple of injuries. Jonathan Joseph with an injury, trying to hit and dislodge the football from Tyler Eifert late in the first half. Then you have the injury to Johnson, who you thought, I looked at him tonight and I said, he's coming along really well because I was a huge fan of A.J. Boye. Hated to see him leave. But this is why you draft young players. You can't pay everyone. And so I looked at Johnson and I said, man, he's finally starting to get it. He's coming along. He leaves the game with an undisclosed injury. And so now you're down to your final corners on this roster. They already came into the game with no tight ends but one, a guy that they just pulled up from the practice squad. So you're literally looking at a bunch of offensive linemen. And this is a prime example of why Thursday night football is horrible on the players. You can't tell me and you can't convince me that if this game were on a Sunday, that at least one, if not two of those tight ends would have been able to go. But because this game was on a Thursday, too quick of a turnaround, those guys weren't ready to go. And so they literally had to pull up a guy from the practice squad, and they had to pull up probably 2 or 3 extra offensive linemen just so they could run some of their heavy stuff. That's asinine. But again, that's what Thursday night football does to your roster. It really puts a strain on injured players. The good thing about this is now you get a 10-day layoff before your next game, which you're going to need it to lick your wounds if you're the Texans. Hopefully, neither one of those injuries to Joseph or Johnson are severe because they are limited in that secondary. But I love the way that those guys that came into the game stepped up. I thought Eddie Pleasant was huge on that final possession of the game. A big tackle on the slot receiver, who is also a hell of a returner, in Alex Erickson, which he proved last year that he was an outstanding return man. I think he led the league in kickoff return yardage per return. But in any event, that was a great tackle on that second down completion because I thought he was going to get away and pick up the first down. He finds a way to get him on the ground, which set up that third down. They weren't able to convert there. They weren't able to convert on fourth down, and they were able to get the key crucial stop late in this game to pretty much seal this thing for the Texans on the defensive side of football. I thought this defense was exactly what they needed. They needed to pitch a shutout tonight, okay? And I'm not talking about literally pitching a shutout like the Ravens did to this Bengals team. I'm talking about from an end zone standpoint, they needed to pitch a shutout, okay? This was a 2-1, just like they said on the telecast. This was a 2-1 baseball game with a pitcher's duel, a young quarterback in Watson. You knew they weren't going to put up a ton of points was this Texans football team unless there were a couple of big defensive breakdowns by the Bengals, which there weren't in this game. You knew there were, and with the very conservative play calling of Bill O'Brien, there weren't going to be many opportunities for big defensive breakdowns. Something would have had to happen in terms of them all out blitzing and the running back getting sprung, and there's no one in the back end to stop him, and it's a 75-yard touchdown run. It's going to have to be something of that sort, but it wasn't going to be any really big plays or a ton of points being scored by the Texans. So this defense went into this game knowing, look, if the offense gives us 10 or 13, we're going to have to make it stand in this game if we want to win. And that's exactly what they did. Hats off to the Texans defense. This is why this team wins 9 games every year. This is why this team finds a way to get into the playoffs, because this defense gets the job done more times than not. They did it again tonight, and they did it again. They did it again to the Cincinnati Bengals, the team that they seem to always do this to, whether it's in the playoffs, whether it's in Cincinnati in the regular season. They find a way to beat this team. They just have their number. They own Andy Dalton. They own Marvin Lewis. They own this Cincinnati Bengals team over the last 5 or 6 years. They've been getting it done just like this. They do it again, 13-9. Defense gets the game ball here. You go to the offensive side of football, and you got to start with Deshaun Watson. I thought he showed a ton of poise in the pocket. Him and Nuke made beautiful music tonight, and I'm hoping that's a relationship that continues to grow. Nuke is such a physical specimen out there. They kept showing him, get your goddamn hands off of me. Tossing Pac-Man around, or excuse me, the cornerback formerly known as Pac-Man, Adam Jones, around out wide, just really having his way with him on those comeback routes, really just being extremely physical. Got caught with his hand in the cookie jar on the OPI late in the ball game, but still, his presence was felt on that final drive of the game. His presence was felt on the touchdown drive on that deep crossing route where he was able to pick up about a good 25 yards, which helped springboard them to that huge Deshaun Watson run for the touchdown. On the 2 scoring drives that the offense did on their own, because the only other point scored by this Texans team in this game came off of the turnover that the defense was able to create, setting up short field position and helping them get a chip shot field goal. The 2 possessions that they actually moved the football down the field themselves, Nuke was a huge part of what they did on both of those possessions. He was outstanding in this game, and they needed him to be, because, again, I like Tyler Ervin. I've been saying this since he was drafted, and now that I look at Tariq Cohen in Chicago, I'm like, why can't you do that with Tyler Ervin? I've been calling for you to do that with him, where he's dynamic out of the backfield, where he's a guy that you split out and he wins. And I see they're trying to do more with him as a receiver. They did that out of necessity, though, because they only dressed 3 receivers tonight. And so they did that out of necessity, but I feel like he can be more of an impact player for this offense. Again, I don't love the creativity or the lack thereof with this offense. And this goes back to last year with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. I think they got enough weapons for this offense to be more dynamic. Even though the quarterback position isn't that great, I feel like they can do more than what they do with some of these receivers. Obviously, you're missing Will Fuller. He's a guy that could really change this offense and the dynamic of it, but he's never healthy, it seems like. But that's nor here nor there. Bottom line is, I felt like Deshaun Watson did an outstanding job of keeping poise when it wasn't there, when he didn't like what he saw, when Nuke wasn't open, because really it boiled down to this. Either Nuke's going to win, and this is what he was at Clemson, and I talked about this being his biggest deficiency. He's a one-read quarterback. If Nuke's not open on the comeback on the left side of the football field, I'm going to tuck it and I'm going to run. And the thing I thought he did a really good job of, though, was it wasn't always I'm going to tuck it to run to pick up yards. I'm going to tuck it and run, get outside the pocket, maybe find Braxton Miller, maybe find Tyler Ervin, pick up 4 or 5, maybe dump it down. He did a really good job of dumping it down to Lamar Miller as a check down and allowing Lamar Miller to make guys miss. I thought he was outstanding in this game as well. I thought when he was called upon, and I'm going to tell you right now, I like Lamar Miller. I like this 2-headed monster that they have with him and Dante Foreman back there, but make no mistake about it, I still like the OG back there. Lamar Miller is the best of the 2 for my money. Late in the ball game, I thought he made some great runs. I thought Foreman missed some opportunities for some runs. And he's a big guy, and he's a rookie, and he's just trying to put his head down. I hated some of those 3rd and 1 calls. They were obvious run calls, and the defense knew it. And they showed the blitz, and I saw it live. I said, he's coming with the house. This is zero coverage. They're coming with all 9 defenders, 2 corners out wide, and all 9 guys are in the box looking to stop this run. I hate the fact that you're telling them you're running and you don't get out of that run. Like I said, the play calling was very suspect. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But I thought Watson did a really good job of taking what the defense gave him. And when it wasn't there, when he didn't like what he saw, tucking and running and making the defense pay. And that's why he started. Because Tom Savage can't do that. There aren't many quarterbacks in this league that can do what he did on the touchdown run right before the half. That's the element there that he brings to the table, especially with Dwayne Brown out at left tackle. Their backup left tackle was getting his ass abused over there by Carl Lawson. He was just tossing his ass around like a rag doll. Luckily, on that last run by Watson that got him into great field goal range on the final field goal, luckily he didn't hold on for dear life and pull Lawson down, or he'd have got another holding penalty because Lawson was just manhandling him over there. But nonetheless, and I think it was Chris Clark, but nonetheless, I thought Watson did a tremendous job of using his legs when Nuke wasn't open and just doing smart things with the football, because the only way they were going to lose this game is if he turned it over. The defense was so dominant. Just don't do anything stupid. He didn't tonight, and that helped them win this game. Let's get to the play calling and special teams, because I thought special teams was horrendous for the Texans all night long. Only bright spot for me, special teams wise, was Shane Leckler. I thought he was outstanding. He continues at the ripe age of, I think, 41 now to just continue to be one of the better punters in this league, and he was masterful tonight. But outside of him, I thought their special teams units were horrible. Alex Harrison was killing them. Pac-Man got him, the cornerback formerly known as a Pac-Man, Adam Jones, got him on the first punt of the game, and Alex Harrison picked up where he left off. He fair caught it one time where I'm like, why are you fair catching it? There's like 10 yards of space in front of you. But in any event, I was upset that on that last kickoff, after it went to 13-9, I'm like, kick this out of the back of the end zone. Don't give Alex Harrison a chance to return this. And not only did he give him a chance to return it, they let him get out to the 31-yard line. The guy is dangerous. The special teams units, I thought, were really bad for the early portion of the game. I thought they got better as the game wore on, but they gave up too many yards in the return game. I'm not comfortable with that. And then the coaching aspect of things, I get it. It's a rookie quarterback. You're on the road, hostile environment, short week of work. You could only install but so many things. I get it. I understand that, okay? I've been watching football. I'm a professional football watcher. This is what I do. I understand the nuances of a Thursday night game with a rookie quarterback making his first career NFL start on a Thursday. I get the dynamic, okay? However, you can trust this young man to throw it more than you asked him to throw it. And literally, it took them to that final drive, that final meaningful offensive drive, not the one at the end where they ran it 3 times so that they could run out the clock. I'm talking about the drive that led to the field goal that pushed this lead out to 4. It literally took them till that drive where he realized we need another field goal or we might lose this game 12-10, and the defense has played too well for that. It literally took him until that drive to say, all right, Deshaun, you're free to throw the football. Of his 25 attempts in this game, I'd venture to say, and I'm guessing, I can't confirm nor deny this, okay? I venture to say that at least 8 or 9 of his throws in the entire game came on that drive alone, which I was upset because there were some situations where I thought, let the young man toss the football around, man. Let him throw it. Let him throw it. Even if it's a baby throw and a baby read, let the young man throw it. And hell, this is what I was calling for last year with this team, which is why I can't stand the Texans, because they don't make it easy on their quarterbacks. What's wrong with a bubble screen every now and again? What's wrong with a running back screen? What's wrong with easy completions for your quarterback? You still didn't see that tonight. A lot of those throws were tightly contested throws to Nuke because Nuke wins, okay? But other than that, these were tough throws for Watson to make, okay? There weren't any easy bubbles, any easy pick plays, nothing easy for him to get it out of his hands and allow guys to make plays after the catch. They didn't do that last year with Osweiler, which pissed me off. They don't do that in Houston. I don't understand why. The run game was so predictable in certain instances. These 3rd and 1s, these 3rd and 2s where you line up in heavy personnel and tell them they're running the football. Damn it, man. Really? Play action, fake, bootleg, something. Throw them off guard. Catch them off guard. Throw them off a little bit. No, you're just going to run into 8-man, 9-man boxes. Asinine. But again, I'm not a huge Bill O'Brien fan. I don't love the way they call offense in Houston, but it got it done tonight. They finally opened up the damn playbook on that possession when they had to. They didn't have a choice because, again, 10-9 is scary because a field goal gets you beat. 13-9, and you feel really good about your defense keeping them out of the end zone. And so he finally allowed the young man to throw the football. He finally said, all right, Deshaun, you can take the safety off the holster, man. You can take the safety off the gun. You can actually fire some bullets now. All right, you can actually start spraying a little bit. Let the man go. And when he did that, he paid him dividends and took them down the field. And I thought Lamar Miller was huge, along with Nuke, on that drive. That 20-yard run where he spins. Great block by Jay Prosh. The fullback is dying, but when you got a good one, boy, do they come in handy. Great seal block on Nick Vigil there to kick open that hole. And then Lamar Miller did the rest with the beautiful spin move, puts the hand down on the ground to keep his balance, gets up the field. That was a major play on that drive as well. So outstanding. And look, they came with the all-out pressure. Watson gets to throw it, and look what you get. Look what you find. A PI on 2nd and 20 when you needed it, okay? Let the man throw the rock, man. Gosh. So, Texans get it done. Wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it's a dub. Let's get to the Cincinnati Bengals because they continue to stink it up on the offensive side of football. Let's first start, though, at the beginning of the game. They and this is when I knew it was going to be a long night for them. They squandered opportunity after opportunity after opportunity early in this game with some great field position. You can't waste that type of field position over and over and over and not expect it to come back and bite you. So you get the great punt return from Adam Jones on the first possession of the game, okay? That sets you up damn near at midfield, all right? You don't do any. Matter of fact, you go backwards, okay, 7 yards. You punted on 4th and 17 there, which is crazy, which just shows you the state of disorganization with this offense right now, that they can't go forward after great field position. So they punt that one, though, but they pin the Texans deep. They get a stop, 3 and out. They get great field position again, right around midfield. And this is the time where you're thinking, okay, they got to strike. No, they don't. They don't strike again. They got a punt. Again, really good punt. And so they get the stop defensively. They get great field position yet again, okay? This time, they're moving the football. They look like they're about to go get some points. They try to unveil the young rookie, John Ross. He comes around on a reverse, and boopski. Great job by Kareem Jackson to go in the cookie jar. Yum, yum, eat them up. Yum, yum, eat them up. Give me those cookies, young boy. You don't know what to do with that. Let me get them cookies, man. Coughs up the football. Clowney right there on the spot to scoop and run the other way. And there you have it. The field position was flipped at that point because they got points. They kicked it off. And you might have gotten another good return from Erickson after that. But at the end of the day, you just squandered 3 golden opportunities to get points early in this game. And I knew that was going to come back to haunt them. And if I'm not mistaken, I didn't see John Ross's ass the rest of the game. Now, he may have gotten in to the football game and may have run a couple of routes. But as far as them actually making a concerted effort to get him the football, young man was cut off. Young fellas, I told you, and I've said this for years, don't bring the young fellas to the bright lights in the big stage of primetime football only unless you have to. Deshaun Watson, I told you this. I said, look, of all these rookie quarterbacks, he's the one guy that I trust to start in his rookie season. I trust him because he's a gamer. He has it. Don't ask me what it is. He just has it. And so you can bring a young fella like that to the bright lights and big stage of primetime football. But the background young fellas, the receivers, the corners, those types of guys, leave their ass at home, man. Sit their ass on the bench because they do this type of stuff. We see it every year. Young fellas acting a fool. Big lights, bright lights, big stage. Can't bring the young fellas here, man. They don't know how to act. And you saw it with John Ross. I didn't see him again after that play. But nonetheless, you look at this Cincinnati Bengals football team, they're in a bad spot right now. Like, I will say this. as bad as they've looked, no touchdowns in the first 2 games at home. First team that's done that since the 1939 Eagles, which is crazy that it's been that long. And that just showed you how inept they've been on offense. Also take into consideration, they played 2 of the best defensive teams in this league in those first 2 games at home, okay? You couldn't have asked for a worse draw at the crib to start the season off. Ravens and Texans back-to-back. You don't get much better than that on the defensive side of the football in this league. So that's no excuse, though. You got to find a way to score a touchdown at some point, and they simply couldn't do that. Right now, the run game is inconsistent, which is what Marvin Lewis said, and I agree. They don't do a really good job, and they need to figure out what they want to do in the backfield. All right, make a decision. I know Jeremy Hill thinks he's the lead feature back, and to appease him, you start him at the beginning of the game, give him a couple carries. Then you don't. They treat him like an NBA center. Let's just go with the center for the Golden State Warriors. They treat him like they used to treat Bogut and whoever else. I forgot the guy that they had in there last year, but they treat him like that guy. You start the first half, you play about a good 8 minutes. We don't see you for the rest of the first half. You come out of the halftime break, you get the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, and I don't see you for the rest of the game, okay? That's how they treat Jeremy Hill. He got the first 2 carries or so of the game. I didn't see that man the rest of the first half. He got like the first 3 carries of the second half, including the one on the 4th down where he dove over the top. I didn't see that man's ass again in the game in the second half. So they got to figure out a way, similar to the Saints, they got to figure out how to finagle these 3 backs. You know, the 2 most talented backs you got are Mixon and Bernard. Giovanni Bernard. Those are the ones that need to play the most. Those are the 2 that played the most in this game. I assume that's going to be their plan of action moving forward, but they need to clearly define those roles moving forward. But the run game is inconsistent. They need to find out what works. And this is an athletic offensive line, okay? Jake Fisher was playing tight end for you at one point when he wasn't getting reps as an offensive lineman the first 2 years in the league. Look, these guys can run, so you need to have more plays where they're able to get out and use that athleticism and be a little bit more out on the edge. These aren't power run blockers that are going to drive the line of scrimmage and move it. You got to understand your personnel and play to their strengths. Screen game would work with these guys because they're so athletic. So you run the screen game with them. They tried one time. Watt blew it up, got up in the passing lane. Dalton ate the football, ends up taking a sack. So they just need to figure out what's going to suit them best offensively. John Ross not being healthy hurts because I told you I'm not a Brandon LaFell guy. He's okay, but he's not real. You just still got A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert, and I feel like they need to get him the football more. And I think they were on their way to doing that until he got injured. But he only had 2 targets early in the football game. You got to get him more involved. That's all you really have right now is Tyler Eifert and A.J. Green. It's A.J. Green. You got to get these guys in football. We know A.J. is going to get force-fed. They showed the graphic. We all know. We've been watching this team for quite some time. That's what Dalton does. That's his security blanket. When all else fails, I'll throw it to 18. And so they've got to get to Eifert more. They've got to get it to Gio Bernard out of the backfield more. He's not touching it enough as a pass catcher out of the backfield. They don't utilize the amount of weapons that they have. And I know a lot of people don't think they have a lot of weapons. They don't unless you start using the guys that you have. Gio Bernard and Mixon are weapons out of the backfield. Both of them are exceptional pass catchers. You got to use them as receivers. And again, what hurts you right now is that those guys got to stay in the block a lot of times. Like, you don't get 20% of your eligibles because you're helping chip on any given play. Eifert is chipping. Gio is chipping. Mixon's chipping on the way out. It slows down their ability to get out in the route because your tackles aren't able to hold it down by themselves, and that hurts your offense. So there are a lot of different things right now that are handicapping this Cincinnati Bengals offense. But bottom line is they're not executing, okay? And at one point I said, hey, we got 2 rookie quarterbacks in this game because they were treating Andy Dalton like a damn rookie. I said, will you take the training wheels off, please? All right? He's too damn old to be riding with training wheels on. I felt like, one of those, and I hate this stereotype. I really do. But those Hispanic kids that look like they're about 8 and their mom's still pushing them in a damn stroller? That's how I felt like they were treating Andy Dalton tonight. Like, look, Please let Andy be Andy. If he's going to make mistakes, let him make mistakes. But do not treat this man like a rookie. One possession, they ran it 3 straight times and ended up getting stopped on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 with a Gio Bernard run. What are you doing? Let Andy Dalton throw the goddamn football. So I had some issues with some of the play calling, but bottom line, they need to figure out better ways to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers that they do have. They've got 4. Until John Ross shows that he can be a playmaker, they've got 4. They've got Mixon, they've got Gio, they've got Tyler, and they've got A.J. Green. That's it. Get those guys the football. They don't do it enough. And I'm not talking about handing Mixon the ball. I'm not talking about handing Gio the ball. I'm talking about getting these guys out in the pass route and having them win against linebackers. Speaking of linebackers, I thought Zach Cunningham and Bernardrick McKinney were outstanding in this game. Zach Cunningham, he can run, okay? He's so goddamn long, and he's so athletic. And there was a play early in this game on a 3rd and 4. They threw it to Gio out of the backfield, and he ran his ass down, stopped him 2 yards short of the first down, tackled him and knocked him out of bounds. That's an exceptional play. And I guarantee you, if Brian Cushing was in, he doesn't make that play. This Texans defense is so athletically gifted. With guys like that in the middle, just makes a huge difference. But back to Cincinnati, they got to figure it out on offense, and they got to figure it out fast, or this season is going to go to hell in a handbasket. It's already heading that way. Now that you're going on the road to take on Green Bay, you're not going to win that game. I can tell you that right now, unless some kind of a miracle happens. If Aaron Rodgers is playing, you're going to lose that football game, and you're going to be 0-3. And at that point, I don't know where this season goes for you. But this was a big one. You had to have it. You didn't get it, and the offense let you down again. Let's go to the defensive side of the football. I thought the defense did everything that they needed to do in this game except force turnovers. That was the only thing that they didn't. They almost did it twice. In games like this, you got to make plays. You know your offense is struggling. All right, Darqueze Dennard's got to pick that pass off. He's got to pick it off. He's got to have it. That's a fine line that you walk in this league between wins and losses, and it's plays like that that are difference makers. He makes that play, they probably win this game, to be honest with you. That would have rattled the cage of Deshaun Watson early in the game, and not only would that have rattled his cage, Bill O'Brien would have went, oh, hell, shit, look what the rookie just did. I can't let him throw the football as much as I would like to, and they already didn't let him throw it a ton. So that really would have scaled back the playbook even more if that pass gets picked off, but it doesn't. And that allowed Watson to calm down and say, all right, okay, if I don't like it, if I don't know what I'm looking at, if I think it's man and it's zone, or I think it's zone and it's man, to hell with it. I'll just run. And it benefited him. And so you got to make those plays. And then Geno Atkins, when he roughed him up, and Geno was a man beast tonight. And I think sometimes just because the Cincinnati Bengals aren't in our consciousness, we forget about how good Geno Atkins is. Okay, Geno Atkins is still one of the best. When we start rattling off defensive tackles in this league, we're talking Mike Daniels. We're talking about Aaron Donald. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. We're talking about Calais Campbell. We start rattling off those guys because they're on more prolific teams, and Aaron Donald is just a beast, and his numbers are ridiculous. And we forget about Geno Atkins. Don't do that. And tonight is just a little bit of a reminder of just how good he is. Okay? And that hit he put on Watson, you saw Watson trying his hardest. He was holding on to that football for dear life. That football slid up to here. Then it was here. Then when he fell down, the football was all up here by his face mask. Somehow, some way, Deshaun Watson held on to that thing. But that was a hellacious shot that Geno Atkins delivered. He was outstanding. He blew up a 3rd and 1 play, single-handedly blew that play up, took 2 blockers, took him 3 yards into the backfield, and gave the rookie Foreman nowhere to go. Atkins was outstanding. I actually liked Carl Lawson, even though he didn't have a sack. I thought he was outstanding on the edge, just bull rushing and tossing Chris Clark, the backup left tackle, aside, just really giving him fits, forcing Watson to never really be comfortable a lot of times in the pocket. They got another young guy on the other side. I don't know what his name is, Evans or something. I thought he did some good things. All in all, this Bengals defense, I thought Adam Jones was outstanding on the edge. He had a tough matchup, okay? Tough duty, tough assignment against one of the league's best. And big ups to Nuke for finally getting his bread not too long ago. But You look up and you're playing against probably the most physical receiver in the league, one of the most physical receivers in the league. It's just a tough matchup for anybody, tough draw. And I thought he hung tough. He battled, but Nuke was just too much for him. But other than that, everybody else I thought did a really good job. They tackled well in this game. They kept everything in front of them for the most part. They gave this team a chance to win, just like last week. I mean, I know the score was 20-0, but really a lot of the points the Ravens scored. Now, I will say this. The Bengals have struggled to stop the run. They struggled in the preseason. We saw that was a problem in the preseason. It was a problem last week versus Baltimore, who really killed the clock and just literally they had one drive that was like 16 plays, and I want to say 14 of the plays were runs last week. First Baltimore ate up a ton of clock, and like 4 of the first downs on that drive were all gained by runs. And at one point, I think they ran it 12 straight times on that particular possession, which is just crazy in this day and age in the National Football League. But in any event, they have trouble stopping the run. I thought they were a little bit better tonight, but they still gave it up on the ground in some crucial situations. None bigger than the Watson run right before the half, and of course, but that's something that you don't plan for. The 20-yard run by Miller on that possession that netted them the field goal to stretch it out to 4 at 13-9. That was a critical run. You can't give that up there. And then some runs late in the game when you're trying to get the football back, you get a freebie there with the false start penalty, and you give up some runs that allow them to get into a third and short situation. They don't convert, but they ate up a ton of clock in doing so. Like I said, this defense, they're good. They're young, though. They're so young. They're young everywhere. They're young. I think their most veteran position is in the secondary, with Adam Jones and Sean Williams might be your 2 most veteran players on that defense. Everybody else are youngins for the most part. Iloka's still a relatively young guy. Darquez Denard and all those other guys out there at the cornerback position are relatively young guys. Kirkpatrick is a veteran, so I think that's pretty much where you get your veteran leadership is there. Until Vontaze Burfict come back, Vincent Ray is a veteran, but outside, Vigil is young, Lawson is young, the other defensive end is young. Atkins, of course, is probably the biggest anchor and veteran you got on this football team. But this is a young defense now, and so they're still feeling out their ways. But at the end of the day, they did enough in this game. Outside of not generating any turnovers, 13 points is supposed to win you every game in this league. You're not supposed to lose in this league when you only surrender 13 points. You're supposed to win every single game that you play in this league if you give up 13 points. Problem is, when your offense hasn't scored a touchdown all season long, you don't win when you surrender 13. And bad part is they're really only accountable for 10 of those points because 3 of them came after the fumble by Ross and the return by Clowney that set up the chip shot field goal. So when you give up 10 as a defense, it's hard to really look at them and say, what are you doing? You know, they didn't really do anything wrong. They didn't score themselves, and they had one opportunity and one alone, and they didn't take advantage of it, and that's it. And so not really much you can say on the part of the Cincinnati Bengals other than, damn, offense, you did it again. They did it again. And so not looking good for Marvin Lewis. He's a lame duck coach on the last year of his deal, and this is it for Marvin. I thought this was it either way, unless they won something major, which I didn't see them doing. But in any event, this 0-2 start, and staring 0-3 in the face, hard to come back from that in a tough division where you already have lost at home to the Ravens. The Cleveland Browns are improved. This could be a long season for the Cincinnati Bengals, and it can get a lot worse before it gets any better for them as they drop this game 13-9 at home. Once again, the first team in the NFL since the 1939 Eagles. Yes, the 1939 Eagles. To not score a touchdown in your first 2 home games of the season. And to make it worse, you got shut out in one game, and these are back-to-back contests. 9 total points in 2 games for the Cincinnati Bengals offensively. That's not going to get it done, and that's why they're 0-2 right now. Big win for the Texans on the road, rookie quarterback. You do enough to salvage your season, really, because I know the division is going to be mucked up again, and with Andrew Luck being out, the Colts are going to stink until he comes back. With Jacksonville going up and beating you week 1, they've got a matchup with Tennessee, and I think the Titans can go into Jacksonville and win. And if you are a Texas fan, that's exactly what you want, because you want them to make everyone in this division outside of Indy, who has a chance to go to 1-1 themselves at home versus Arizona. You want everybody to be 1-1, and that'll kind of hit the reset button for everyone in that division. So big win for the Texans. And I think I see bright things in the future of Deshaun Watson. And I saw it coming. I said, of all the rookies, he's the one that I trust to start because he's a gamer and he has it. And you saw that tonight, especially on the run and that drive. That was a huge drive. It ate up clock. And they were able to get that field goal that made it tough because Cincinnati's whole mindset changed from just need a field goal to win to we need to get in the end zone, something we haven't done all season long. They had one opportunity. Eifert steps out of bounds. Can't do that there if you're Tyler Eifert. I understand what he was trying to do, set his feet up. Got to know where you are on the field. Took a great scoring opportunity off the scoreboard there, and they end up having to settle for a field goal, which ended up being their demise in this game. 13-9, Texans go to 1-1 on the season. Let's get to your comments. Let's check Twitter quickly before we get to your comments out there. Just to see if you guys have any comments on Twitter. I always say send me messages on Twitter and then I don't check it. So make sure you use the hashtag Louie Tee Live if you want your comment read. All right. At Campbell3MC says, Lou, I like Deshaun Watson, but he's really going to struggle this year. He only looks to one receiver and then runs. Look, in a game like this, and I agree, that's always been his thing in college, was one read and go, much faster than slow. And it hasn't changed now, but you've got a beast receiver out there in Nuke. If I'm the other team, I'm trying to take him away because I know that's where he wants to go. And I'm going to play some trap coverages to that side to see if I can't bait him into making a throw and having somebody come underneath. Some trap 2 coverages where it looks like, man, he's a young quarterback. He may read, man, have that corner, carry the route a little bit, and then have him sag underneath. There's some things you can do to confuse him. I thought that the Bengals should have blitzed more tonight. They really said, we're going to play a bunch of different coverages, and we're going to try to confuse him. And they did to a certain extent, but I think what you wanted to do with Watson was you wanted to speed up his clock. You wanted him to make some decisions under duress. They didn't really do that tonight, and I think that allowed him to make some throws, especially on that final possession where they were able to go down and get the field goal. But in any event, right now that's his comfort level. Make a couple of reads, make one in particular to Nuke. If it's not there, get the hell out of Dodge. I don't have a problem with that, especially if he's able to escape and create with his legs. Teams are going to start putting spies on him to try to stop him from running. He's still going to outrun a lot of these spies. But in any event, you just don't want to make a mistake. You see how good this defense is? You know, that's been the MO of this team is just don't turn it over at the quarterback position, okay? Whether it's Case Keenum, Tom Savage, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who the hell ever, okay? Brandon Whedon. We don't give a damn who the quarterback. Brock Osweiler last year. We don't give a shit. Just don't turn it over. The defense will take care of the rest. Just don't turn the football over. And if you making one read and then running is going to prevent you from making turnovers, we'll take it. So I think right now he may struggle a little bit, but that's part of the process of being a young guy. They didn't anticipate him starting right now. They didn't want to start him right now. They wanted him to learn more. But at the end of the day, what do you got to lose? Put the young fella in, let him learn. Baptism by fire, put him in the game. You only get better, especially at the quarterback position, by playing, by seeing coverages, by making mistakes, by learning from those mistakes. You can take as many mental reps as you like, but at the end of the day, you're only going to get better by playing in the game. Ask any of the greats in this league. They had to take their lumps, whether it's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. Those guys didn't come right in and start and be great, except for maybe Tom Brady. And even you go back and look at some of his numbers in some of those games, they were pedestrian, okay? But he was clutch. So just put the young man in, let him take his lumps, and you hope that he does enough to give you opportunities to win like he did tonight. BE says, LOL, the quad cam with all the fans waiting for a TD. That was so special. The struggle is real in Cincinnati. I love the fact that they kept putting the quad cam up there with 4 different looks at fans in the stands waiting for a touchdown that never came, and I knew wasn't going to come. Hey, they were wrong for that. All right, Thursday Night Football, NFL Network, y'all were wrong for that, man. They were trolling those boys, and they knew what they was doing, man. The struggle is real in Cincinnati right now. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Andy Dalton is showing that he's a below-average, overpaid quarterback again. I'm not an Andy Dalton fan anymore. I used to be a huge Andy Dalton fan. I'm not. I got off the bandwagon 2 years ago. 2016 is when I got off the bandwagon when he came back from the injury. I just thought he would pick up where he left off. I thought he was playing borderline MVP-like football in 15. Came back in 2016 and just wasn't the same guy. It almost seemed like he had lost all the confidence that he had gained in 2015 and 2016. And that's what happens when you take some of your weapons away. Remember, in that 15 year, he had a full complement of receivers. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Guess who? Mohamed Sanu and Marvin Jones Jr. You take those 2 guys away, and all of a sudden now you're left with just A.J. Green. And it changes things in Tyler Eifert when he's healthy. It changes the dynamic of what he's able to do. He had a rapport with those guys. And that's part of them just being cheap in Cincinnati. They could have kept one of those dudes. They let both of them walk. And look, Marvin Jones got a ton of money. I understand why you would allow him to go. But they could have kept Mohamed Sanu. They're just being cheap. And it's biting them in the ass again. Because they could have kept Andrew Whitworth. He was at the end of his career. He signed a 3-year, $30 million deal. You couldn't have paid him 3 years, $30 million. I understand you drafted 2 young tackles and you're like, hey, let's cut some bait. Let's cut some of that salary cap and let the young fellas play. I get it. But you needed to keep somebody. Okay, so you weren't going to keep Zeitler because he's a guard and you didn't want to overspend for a guard. Okay, fine. Then kick Jake Fisher's ass inside the guard. Move Oboyehi to right tackle and leave Whitworth at left tackle. Like I said, they dropped the ball and Dalton's feeling the effects. And I thought that he struggled again tonight. And a lot of it is his own doing. You can't miss the throw to Brandon LaFell. B-Fell is open down the sideline. He's got to look. Safety's coming over. He's late to the party. Got to get it in there, and Dalton wasn't even close on that 4th down throw. Like I said, I'm not an Andy Dalton fan, and it's not about what a quarterback is worth. It's what the position demands. You got to pay quarterbacks, even if they're mediocre quarterbacks like Andy Dalton. You got to pay them. Hirsch Patel says, I chose the Bengals in this matchup, so you best be ready for my comeback with the picks. I told you I thought the Texans, they got their number. I know the history in this series. And I said, if Deshaun Watson plays, he's going to do enough to win, and that he did. And I knew the Bengals. I watched them last week. And see, that's the Bengals struggled last week. We all know Dalton threw 4 interceptions, fumbled another time when he was sacked. But if you watch the game, you understand why these things are happening. And I just didn't see them being able to correct it on a short week versus this Texans defense. And so I felt like they would get it done. Drew True Statement says, here we go with these bad Thursday night games from last year. This one, I'm not going to lie to you. In the first half, I was like, man, this is some bullshit here. All right, till that 2-minute warning, that's when the game, like they said, oh, man, a football game broke out. I felt like that was legit. They actually moved the football there. And then I actually thought the second half was pretty entertaining. It was like a little bit of a chess match, cat and mouse. All right, my thing was, hey, at least get a first down or 2. 1, because you need to give the defense some time to catch their breath. 2, you need to flip the field position. Don't give the Bengals the football at the 41-yard line and make it easy on them to just pick up a couple of first downs and get in the field goal range. And I was waiting for a 52-yard field goal because they got that stinking ass kicker that I tried to run out of the league 2 years ago. How the hell he still has a job? I think it's Bullocks, Josh Bullocks, or something like that. That used to be with the Jets, that the Texans, you guys know, you drafted him. Randy Bullocks, that's his name, Randy Bullock. that you drafted that was funky with y'all, went to the Jets, was funky with them, and somehow he's still in the league with the Bengals. I said, I'm waiting for y'all to send his ass out there for a 49-yard field goal so he can miss. But he never got the opportunity. But, yeah, this game, if you're not in the defense, you weren't going to like this game. Next week is really bad. It's Rams. I'm a closet Rams supporter because of my man Sean McVay, so I'm always going to root for the Rams just because I want to see McVay do well. But it's Rams and Niners next week, man. You talk about funk early in the season, funk on a whole new level. The rhythm is the bass and the bass is the treble. We can funk back-to-back weeks, man. So you better get ready, hold your nose, hide your kids. It's getting nasty in week 3. Andrew Kim says, I really thought Dalton could rebound. This game was so bad. Bengals should think about getting A.J. McCarron out there instead of Dalton. Red rifle, more like red Nerf gun. You know they're not sitting him down, man. They're going to give him every opportunity. First of all, they're paying him too much money. You know their owner is too cheap to be paying Andy Dalton all that money to be sitting him on the sidelines. A.J. McCarron's going to be a free agent next year. No way that they're going to sit down Andy Dalton. The only way he's not playing is if he gets injured. It's unfortunate because it's you want to blame everything on Dalton. And like I said, I'm not a Dalton supporter. But it's just so bad right now. I don't love the play calling. I don't like their inability to get the playmakers to football. They're not getting the ball to Mixon and Giovanni Bernard. The ball in space. That's where they're most dangerous. You got to find ways to scheme up. Okay, so your line stinks. And you don't have a lot of time. Scheme up ways to get the ball out of Dalton's hands quicker by getting the ball to the backside of the backfield, which will loosen up some coverages, which will then allow you some opportunities to hit A.J. Green. Then will allow you some opportunities to hit Eifert up the seam. But they're not doing it. So, Dark Sealer 1995 says, Marvin Lewis and the offensive coordinator along with Dalton need to go. The offense had no rhythm. The running back committee is stupid. Start Mixon, period. And they will. This is Jeremy Hill's last year under contract. He'll be gone after this year. And I think they're trying to appease him because he's one of those dudes that will make a scene. He'll run his mouth. He'll become very just ornery, and he'll be a malcontent in that locker room. And they're just trying to keep the peace by tossing him a couple carries and telling him he's the starter. You're the starter. When the game starts, you get a couple of carries. But like I said, they treat him like the Golden State Center, man. You're going to play the first 8 minutes of the game and in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, and then we won't see you again. Enrique Valencia says, Andy Dalton stinks. In my opinion, the Bengals should just tank this year. Y'all got to stop with that word. That whole tanking, that stuff is stupid. All right, there's no such thing as tanking. These are grown-ass men. They're professionals. They get paid to do this. Don't nobody want to sit through a whole week of practice and film and weights and film study and just to go out and take a L. Like, as fans, we say, not we, because I don't use that shit. Is stupid to me. Tanking, I don't even understand the concept of that. All right? But when fans say stuff like that, that is the dumbest stuff ever. Like, you can tell that you've never been in a situation. If you are spending 8 hours a day for 4 to 5 days a week, game planning, weightlifting, and trying to get better so that you can win, only to go out and lose. Do you know how tough that is to do that week in and week out? You're talking about tanking, and we 2 weeks into the season? Stop. Dark Sealer 1995 says, benching John Ross after the fumble is awful coaching. You spent the high pick on the man. Now give him some confidence and let him redeem himself. It's not like LaFell is any good. I agree. You know, the young fellas are going to make mistakes. It happens all the time. They should have went right back to John Ross. And I don't care if it was in a running play, like you just did with this time a jet sweep instead of a reverse, or if it was just a bubble screen to him. This guy's electric. Get him the football. And again, I can't understand. Neither one of these teams are utilizing the amount of speed that they have on offense. None of these teams are utilizing some of these weapons they have by just getting the football in their hands and getting them out of space. That, for me, I can never understand, but I'm not an offensive coordinator. I just am a professional football watcher. What do I know? So, I don't know. But in any event, Dark Sealer 1995 also says, Marvin not going for the touchdown by the goal line and settling for a field goal shows he has no confidence in Dalton. And every third and short, they run it and don't put it in Dalton's hands. Now, I did agree with him kicking the field goal because I thought that they might have a chance to win this game 12-10. So I didn't have a problem. You got to get points in that situation. As much as you're itching for a touchdown, the quad cam, the fans are waiting for the touchdown. You got to take the points because you knew Deshaun Watson wasn't going to score a ton of points in this game. That offense on the other side of the field, they weren't going to score a bunch of points. Your defense was playing well. Get the points. Give yourself a chance to win this game with 4 field goals. And they were close. But they just needed one more stop on that one possession with about, I'd say, 6 minutes left in this game, 7 minutes left. They kicked the football. They pinned the Texans deep inside their own territory, like right around the 10-yard line. And they let Watson and company methodically drive the football down the field. They had them right where they wanted them after an offensive pass interference penalty, pushed them back to 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20, and they still let them out of there. They had Watson. Then they give up the pass interference on the cornerback formerly known as Pat-Man, Adam Jones. They had opportunities to get off the field, and they just couldn't do it defensively. But I didn't like both teams basically on 3rd and short saying, we're going to run the football. Stop us if you can. Neither one of your teams are great run blocking. Yeah, they're going to stop you, and then the other team knows you're running. They're going to put 7. They're going to put 8 guys in the box. I didn't like the 3rd down and short play calling for either team in this game. Andrew Kim says both have decent defenses, though, but they won more than 8 games for both of these teams, but won't win more than 8 games for both of these teams. Lewis and O'Brien should be gone. Haven't invested in the offensive line like they should. Look, I can't disagree with you. I think the Texans, I predicted them at 7-9 this year, taking a step back. It wouldn't shock me if that's what happened. You're not going to get 13 points and win most weeks in this league. Not going to be enough. So unless some things change, they're probably going to lose next week. They're going to New England. We'll see what happens, but I'm assuming that they're not going to be able to get it done there, and they're going to drop to 1-2, and then we'll see what happens after that. Drew True Statement says, Bill O'Brien is single-handedly holding his team back with his offensive scheme choice. Granted, the offensive line isn't good. The conservative crap has to stop when you got a playmaker in Nuke. I agree. And it's not just that you have a great playmaker in Nuke. It's just that you got guys out there that can make plays. Braxton Miller. Okay, screen game. I said the same thing with Brock Osweiler last year. Screen game. Let's get the football out of the quarterback's hands earlier, sooner. Let's get some blockers out in front of these guys. Tyler Irvin is a guy that I still think can be a difference maker on this football team. You saw him tonight make some tough catches where he had to go down and dig it out. He's got excellent hands. We saw this from him in college. I feel like he can be a Tariq Cohen type of player in this offense, but they don't give him the chance to do that. They've got guys, and when Will Fuller comes back, another guy with blazing speed, get him the football and get him in space so he can run. He's really fast. Same thing with John Ross on the opposite side of the field with the Bengals. He's really fast. Get him in space, get some blockers out in front of him, and see what happens. Just like you did on the reverse. He was running. That was a great play. That was a 1st or a 2nd and 20, and he was about to pick up 18 of that before he fumbled. Get these guys out in space with blockers and see what they can do. But, again, I can't. BK Soldier 2010 says, what do you think is wrong with Andy Dalton right now? I think Andy Dalton is suffering from lack of great play calling and a porous offensive line that is taking away 20 to 40% of his eligibles. On any given play, you're watching their best tight end have to stay in and chip, or take him a while to get out in the route because he has to stop the chip before he goes out, which is taking away precious time for him to get into the route. You're watching Giovanni Bernard have to stay in and chip because before he gets out on his route, he's got to make sure he helps Jake Fisher out on his way out. Or he's got to help Cedric Ogbuehi on his way out. Same with Fisher. Same with Eifert. So you're losing eligibles. You're losing precious time for Dalton to get rid of the football. And then I'm not in love with the schemes that they're running. And then some of it is, you just got to make plays. And on a 3rd and 4, Dalton's got LaFell open on a slant. It's a tight window, but you're a professional and you've done this before. Make the throw. He throws it behind him and low, and it's incomplete, and you got to punt. And so LaFell wins On a stutter route against Johnson, Johnson's tripping all over himself. You got an opportunity. He misses. Got to make the throw. And so I think it's a little bit of both. Dalton's not having enough time to make plays. And when he does get time, he's like, oh, shit, I got time. And he's not taking his time and making the throws that we've seen him make before. So it's unfortunate. Slip Ammo says, is Dalton garbage like everyone says? I'm not a Dalton fan. You know that. But Andy is not trash. Andy Dalton is better than a third of the quarterbacks in this league. All right. He's not bottom third of the league. He's bottom half of the league. I mean, I could give you 16 quarterbacks that are better than Andy Dalton, but he's top 20. Okay. You can win with Andy Dalton. We've seen him play at a very high level. But I feel like the organization is crippling him by not re-signing key football players and thinking that you can just replace good veteran players with young rookies and young guys that haven't done it at this level. That's a problem. You can't just let go guys that are productive and think we'll just draft 2 more just like them and we'll be fine. Let's keep the party going. That's not how this league works. Because for every one of those guys you let go, for all of these draft picks, you may get 9 guys in the draft. Only 4 of those guys are really going to be good key contributors for your football team. And they may not be at the positions where you just let guys walk. You still haven't. You thought Tyler Boyd was going to be good. He hasn't been that good for you. He's been okay. But he hasn't replaced Marvin Jones, who to me was one of the best number 2 receivers in this league when he was in Cincinnati. You haven't replaced Mohamed Sanu. I guess you could say that Brandon LaFell has been comparable to Sanu, but Sanu was the guy that did the dirty work. He dug out the safety in the run game. Sanu was the guy that you ran the gadget plays with. Oh, we're going to do a double reverse pass. That was Mohamed Sanu's job, and he did a hell of a job doing that. Okay? So Mohamed Sanu would go over the middle and catch the tough pass. He's not there anymore. So you're crippling him by not re-signing those guys. You're crippling him by not bringing back Andrew Whitworth. You're crippling him by not bringing back Zeitler. You're crippling him by thinking that young guys can come in and just fill in these voids and you're just going to keep the party going as if nothing ever happened. Like you didn't just lose 2 of your better players. You can't do that and think that you're not going to have some adverse situations happen to your quarterback. You're taking away his best weapons. You're taking away some of his most vital parts of his offensive line. You're going to struggle. And so, is Dalton garbage? No, he's not garbage. Is he an upper echelon quarterback? No. But he's never been that. He was that for 1 year in 2015. 1 year. But that's when he had all his stuff. That's when Eifert was healthy. That's when Gio was emerging. That's when all of the stuff was there. Green, Jones, Sanu, Gio, okay, a young Jeremy Hill. Everything was coming together in that season. You had all the parts. The offensive line was outstanding. You were in a great spot. And then little by little, free agency took vital pieces of your team away and you allowed it to happen. So, no, he's not garbage. But is he an upper echelon quarterback? No, and I think he's lacking confidence right now because the offensive line isn't protecting him adequately. Again, there are only a handful of quarterbacks that can deal with an offensive line not protecting them and still produce at a high level. There aren't many. When you watch Kirk Cousins struggle versus the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1, he wasn't himself because he was pressured. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. A really good NFL quarterback. Almost threw for 5,000 yards last year. A really good NFL. But you have to protect him. He's not Brady. And we've seen Brady take a beating. And we've seen Brady struggle when he gets hit. There aren't many quarterbacks that you can say, hey, your offensive line is going to be a little garbage this year. You're going to have to make magic by yourself. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger. We've seen those guys do it. Phillip Rivers. But it's not many of them, okay? You can't rattle off a ton of names that pressure doesn't affect. And Dalton is one of those guys. Pressure affects him, affects his game, affects his psyche more importantly. And now you see mechanics and throws all over the place. The Mister says, Lou, do you think Houston looks like a favorite or even a playoff team, especially with the way Deshaun Watson looks? Hard to say. That division is still up for grabs. It's anybody's division. Like, you can't even count the Colts out right now. Andrew Luck could miss the first 4 games. He could come back, and the division leader could be 2-2. Why they can't just run off 4 out of 5, get to 4-5 on the season, and look up and the division winner is at 5-5 at that time? It's the AFC South. Every year, a team with 9 wins wins the division. They got a shot. Everybody in that division has a shot. Cloud says they need to make Mixon the main ball carrier. They will. I mean, you kind of saw that tonight. He had the most carries out of anybody. The Mister says, and at what point does Marvin Lewis' job ever become in question? It is right now. They're not going to fire him during the season. That's not what they do. He's on the last year of his contract. They're not going to renew it. This is it for him. He's been there way too long to get these kind of performances. Yeah, he's done after this year. Drew True Statement says, O'Brien first possible hot seat candidate if bad season happens. Yeah, I would say he's up there. There may be a couple of guys that seat may be hot, but remember, he almost got fired at the end of last year. So if this season goes awry early, which this was a big win, this is going to buy him time. If they were to lose the next 4 games and they were 1-5 and it looked like the team quit, yeah, he could easily be one of the first coaches fired during the course of the season. Remember, his seat was hot at the end of last year. Everybody assumed he was gone, and somehow he managed to stay on board, so definitely. Slip Ammo says, doesn't help that Ken Zampese is the offensive coordinator. Losing Hugh and Gruden and replacing them with nobody is biting us. But that's what y'all do. That's why your organization is in the type of bind. You guys always promote from within. You guys are so cheap, it's ridiculous. You don't go out and seek talent elsewhere. You always feel like you got an in-house option. So when somebody comes and plucks your offensive coordinator and gives them a head coaching job, we'll just promote the quarterback's coach. And that's fine, okay? Because when Jay left, Hugh got promoted. So you're thinking, okay, there's more talent on this coaching staff. We'll just promote from within. We'll just promote the next guy. But at some point, you got to look and say, all right, maybe this guy isn't the right man for the job. Maybe we need to look elsewhere and bring somebody in to do the job. And again, that's not how things go in Cincinnati. They run their organization a little bit differently than most teams in the league, and it's starting to bite them in their ass right now. Slip Ammo says, let's see. I went too far. Yeah, right here. He also says Jordan Willis is the other DN. Ryan Glasgow, Andrew Billings are 2 other young guys who get snaps. Yeah, it's a young defense. Very, very young defense. Glasgow looks good when he gets opportunities. Jordan Willis. There's a second-year guy that I was talking about. I wasn't talking about Jordan Willis. I knew about him. There's a second-year guy that comes in and subs for Dunlap on that other side. Jordan Willis, usually when he's in for Carl Lawson on the right side, left over the left tackle. I'm talking about the guy that comes in on the right side. He's a second-year guy, they said. And I think he kind of goes inside too sometimes as well, but in any event. Cloud says, forgot who the Bengals play, but I heard they had the easiest schedule this year. Somebody done lied to your ass, okay? They just started out with Baltimore. Well, first of all, the AFC North in itself is tough. Baltimore twice, Pittsburgh twice. Right there, that tells you their schedule isn't easy. Then they play the NFC North, which means you got to play Minnesota, not easy. Green Bay, not easy. Detroit, not easy. Chicago, not easy. So right there, somebody done lied to you. I don't even know what division they play in the AFC, but right there, the division, that's tough sledding right there. Eric Villa says, what do you think about Dante Foreman? I thought he was okay. I thought he left some yards out there, but he's physical. He's tough. I like him. I think he can catch the football out of the backfield a lot better than I gave him credit for coming out of Texas. I like the little 1-2 punch they got going, but I'm a Lamar Miller guy. I think Lamar Miller, it's always going to be Miller time for me. It's always going to be Miller time, but I like Foreman. I think he's going to be good. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Scott Tolzien looked bad tonight. Oh, I mean, Dalton. Oh, my gosh. Y'all going in on Dalton tonight. Black Al B says, is this the end of Andy Dalton being considered good? It's only 2 games in. He played 2 of the best defenses in the league. The offensive line in front of him stinks. Let's see if the coaching staff makes adjustments. I'm not ready to just jump off the deep end with Andy Dalton and attach an anvil to his ankle and watch him drown. Get a man an opportunity against some lesser defenses to see if he can kind of right the ship and get this thing turned around. You know how the NFL is. He starts out bad, and in 5 weeks from now, we'll be like, man, Andy Dalton's playing some great football. This league is a week-to-week league. Relax. No, let's not do that to Andy Dalton yet. The Black L.A.B says, AJ needs to bring his talents to Minnesota. When is his contract up? I think it's up after this year. So I said I wouldn't be shocked if my Redskins took a run at him after they lose Kirk Cousins. Alex Smith will be available. I think this offseason coming up, there are going to be some guys that will be available. You're going to have to trade for Alex Smith, though. But he'll be available. A.J. McCarron will be available. Drew Brees will be available if the Saints don't decide to re-sign him. There's going to be some guys out there. Kirk Cousins is going to be available. This will be one of the best seasons to need a quarterback. If you've got a ready-made team, your defense is legit, they're ready to go, and you just need a quarterback, this could be the year to get you one and potentially have a guy that can step in right now and help your team win. Slip Ammo says, Whitworth is the biggest loss by far. He was money at left tackle. Never had to worry about pressure from the blind side. Absolutely. I remember there were like 2 years. There was like a 2-year stretch where he didn't even give up a pressure or a hit on a quarterback, a sack. Okay, Whitworth was absolutely lights out at left tackle. He was the leader of this team, the unquestioned leader of this team. I remember watching Hard Knocks, and his voice resonated in that locker room more than anybody's voice. Okay, he was the unquestioned leader of the locker room, and you can't be the leader if your play on the field doesn't command respect. This dude was the best player on the team. Okay, from offensive line perspective, it wasn't even close. All right, for you guys to let him walk for $30 million, it's a slap in the face to me, to be honest. 3 years, $30 million, if I'm not mistaken, is the deal he got for the Rams. Can't let him walk. So, again, that's this organization being cheap. And they saw cheap labor in the form of Obuehi, who they drafted, who they said he can be our future left tackle, and he's cheap labor. Let's move on. That's what happens. Black L.B says, what pictures does Marvin Lewis have of the Bengals owner that they will not fire this man? No, it's just a level of comfort. Marvin's never been bad enough. We perceive him to be bad, but they were making the playoffs every year. He just doesn't win in the playoffs. They've had some tough circumstances. One year they got there when they played the Colts. Their whole team was injured. He's had some tough luck. They just don't win in the playoffs. The 1 year that they were supposed to win, 2 years ago when they were really good, Andy Dalton gets hurt. Killed their playoffs. The 1 year they were supposed to win, when the last year Jay Gruden was there, when they lost to San Diego at home, that was the 1 year I was like, y'all effed up. Y'all was supposed to win. And that was a one time, but he hasn't been bad enough to get fired. I think everyone looks around and says they're just stuck in neutral. This team's been good, never great, except for 2015 when Dalton went down. And so I think everybody just assumed, look, they're stuck in neutral. They just need – it was sort of like Tony Dungy in Indy, Tony Dungy in Tampa, where you're like, damn, this team is really good every year, but – and then you bring in John Gruden to get him over the top. I think that's what a lot of us felt like. Look, this Cincinnati Bengals team is on the cusp of something. Maybe you just need a new guy to come in and push him over the top. And they never did that. Now that the window of opportunity has shut, it's closed. And now when you bring in somebody else, now you got a young team. Now you got to basically start over from scratch. And so it's totally different than if they would have done this, say, 3 years ago. They would have had a shot. But hindsight is 20/20 always. So, Slip Ammo says Dalton put up a 91.8 QB rating and only threw 8 INTs. Finished as the 15th best quarterback with Green, Eifert, and Gio missing a bunch of games. He was also sacked 41 times in 2016. Yeah, like I told you, Andy Dalton's not terrible. He's not terrible. Don't let people lie to you. He's just not great. He's good. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can win with Andy Dalton. You just need the supporting cast to be good around him. Much like Kirk Cousins. You can win with Kirk Cousins. You just need a supporting cast around him. He can't put a team on his back. Dalton can't put a team on his back. But then again, how many teams, quarterbacks in the league can put teams on their back? Not many. That's what separates and differentiates the elite from the good, from the mediocre, from the bad. Is the ability to say, all right, won't have the fastball today as a team. I got it, fellas. I'll pick up the slack today. Don't worry about it. Blackbird Blitz says, come on. Bad offense is not a good defensive struggle. Like I said, I actually thought that this game, you knew what was coming, and you couldn't help it. Rookie quarterback, you don't want to put too much on his plate. You knew what they were going to do. I was anxious to see how they were going to try to execute, and they did enough. You can call it what you want. Look, a lot of y'all didn't enjoy this game. I get it. I understand. I'm a football purist. I don't mind watching defenses fly around and stop teams from scoring, even when it's predictable. Still got to go out and do it. And they did it tonight. So, if you didn't, look, you know how Thursday night is. It is what it is. Next week is going to be another one of these types of games. Either it could be a blowout or it could be another one of these 13-10 type games. So just brace yourself. Slip Ammo says, McCarron wouldn't fare better than Dalton behind that O-line. Remember when McCarron filled in for Dalton in 2015? Downgrade. No, McCarron wouldn't do much different than Dalton. And I think a lot of people don't give Dalton credit for his mobility. He's way more mobile than A.J. McCarron is. So, and it's not like McCarron's a statue, but he's not as athletic as Dalton is. There's no reason to go to McCarron. Like Slip said, there's no way McCarron's going to flourish behind this offensive line. It's not like McCarron's the future in Cincinnati anyway. So, Dark Sealer 1995 says, seems like Bill O'Brien's schemes just include passing to D-Hop every single play. Where's Braxton Miller? Why don't they split Lamar out as a slot? And that's my biggest gripe is that, and it's not that Bill O'Brien said, throw the football to Nuke, throw the football to Nuke, throw the football to Nuke. But he wins. And if I'm a quarterback, I'm going to the guy that I can trust to win one-on-one for me. If I know this guy consistently wins, hell yeah, I'm going to throw him the football. Especially if I'm a young quarterback. I need some wins. I need somebody to go out and get some dubs on a play-to-play, snap-to-snap basis. And I know that Nuke is winning. I'm going to get him the football as many times as the defense will allow me to get him the football. And if you're going to keep giving me one-on-one coverage with Adam Jones, I'm going to take it and I'm going to run with it every time. And I'm going to keep throwing the comeback. And I'm going to keep throwing this curl route. And I'm going to keep throwing this stop. And I'm going to keep throwing the out. And I'm going to keep force-feeding the ball to D-Hop. BE says, damn, the Texans are going to get Watson killed if they don't fix that O-line or come up with a better scheme. Some of it was on Watson, holding on to the ball too long, not getting out of the pocket. I think the early pressures and the hits that he took early in the game was from him just not getting out of there, having the clock go off, and then him running backwards. This is not Clemson, bro. You're not going to get outside of these ends and these outside linebackers. This is not Clemson. This is not the ACC. That's not NC State, okay? You need to either get rid of the football or run up the A-gap, which is what he did later on in the game. He escaped from the A-gap. You always tell your quarterbacks, that looping to the outside, that doesn't work in this league. It very rarely is going to afford you the opportunity to get up the field and make a play. You may be able to scramble to the outside to buy time to maybe throw it to somebody who comes back to the football. But if you're looking to pick up yards with your legs, you escape through the A-gaps. That's what he did later in the football game. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Dalton is suffering from David Carr syndrome. He's seeing ghosts out there. It's not that bad yet. Like, David Carr wasn't able to function. Dalton can still function, but he is starting to get a little antsy, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Dalton bombed it to A.J. Green in double coverage and left the ball hanging in the air, and it only looked like a great play because A.J. caught it over guys. Dalton looks to A.J. too much. They said that in the telecast. I just said the same thing about Nuke with the Texans. You go to guys that you know will win for you. He saw him throw it up in double coverage, right? And really, it wasn't double coverage. What happened was the throw took him across the field because it was one-on-one with Kareem Jackson. And then the throw took him across the field, which allowed Jonathan Joseph to come, who was playing cover 3 on the other side of the field, to come off of his guy. He saw the football in the air. He ran back there, and it became double coverage. I thought he made a poor attempt at the ball, did Joseph. He should have been picking that off. Instead, AJ makes a great play on the football. And that's why Andy does what he does, because he knows 18 will go and make a play for him. Dark Sealer 1995 says the Bengals owner is Mr. Krabs instead of running the Krusty Krab, he's running the chum bucket. Yeah, that's a good analogy. He is Mr. Krabs. Cheap as hell. Don't want to spend no damn money, and you see the problem that is coming for them right now. BE says, I wouldn't mind Arizona making a run for Cousins. He'll be there. You got enough money for him? Because it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. Cloud says, AJ needs to come to Philly. Hashtag don't kill the dream. AJ McCarron is going to look to start. He's not, much like Glennon in Tampa leaving to go to Chicago, he's not going somewhere else to back up. AJ McCarron is going to look to try to start somewhere. So all y'all thinking he's just going to try to just show up to your team and be a backup quarterback for your team, to hell with that. He is not looking to do that at all. BK Soldier 2010 says, if Breeze doesn't re-sign with the Saints, should he retire or bring his talents to a place like the Jets or the Jags? If I'm Drew Brees, first of all, Drew Brees wants to keep playing football. That being said, don't demean yourself to keep playing. There needs to be a team out there that's on the cusp that just doesn't have the quarterback play. And maybe the Jags are that type of team. We'll see what they do for the rest of this season in terms of what they do defensively. Still don't think Blake Bortles is going to be good enough all season long to consistently win them games when teams load up the box to stop Ivory and Fournette in that run game. But let's say the Jags end up being one of the better defenses this year. Let's say they finish 7th in the league defensively and 3rd in the league in points allowed this season. But they finish the season at 7-9 or 6-10 because the quarterback position sucks and they don't score enough points. If I'm Drew Brees next year and the Saints don't re-sign him, I'd go to Jacksonville because that would show me they got talent out there. I've said this numerous times. The Jags have the most talent in the league, both sides of the football. They just don't have the quarterback. And so I'd go somewhere like that. I'd go somewhere like Denver if I'm Drew Brees, somewhere like Pittsburgh if Ben Roethlisberger decides to retire and they need a veteran in there. I go somewhere like Arizona where they're starving for a veteran. I go somewhere like that where I think I could win. I'm not going to the Jets. I'm not going somewhere where they're rebuilding. I don't need that in my life if I'm Drew Brees. So I'm 38 years old, gonna be 39. I can't be a part of a rebuilding situation. Slip Ammo says, I think Cloud meant AJ Green. Oh, is he a free agent next year? Really? Huh. He might walk. The way they paying or not paying cats. Daniel A says, I could see Cousins to the 49ers, but the 49ers suck. That's where I think he's going. Straight to San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. It was either going to be the Rams with Sean McVay, but I think McVay is going to try to fix up Goff, or 49ers with Kyle. And I think that's where he's going to end up, with Kyle in San Francisco. Black LB says, ain't nobody talking about McCarron. We talk about AJ Green. Oh, man, y'all are hilarious. I apologize. I didn't know AJ was going to be a free agent next year. So I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, hell yeah. If you can wrestle, look, now that would be a bidding war. If AJ Green became an unrestricted free agent, and if I'm Cincinnati, if I can't agree to terms with him, you use the franchise tag. There's no way if you take AJ Green off this team They are nothing offensively. Nothing, I tell you. They can't afford to lose him. Unacceptable. Out of the question. Can't happen. Black L.A.B says, I need more than 1 or 2 sample sizes from McCarron to even consider him becoming a starter. Look, Brock Osweiler got a chance to start. How many times did you see Longneck, Mike Glennon start before he got an opportunity to start in Chicago? Look, man, it's not about production. It's about the hope, the projection of a guy being a starter. If you've seen just a glimpse and it looks good, it's tantalizing enough, you'll get a shot. Remember, supply and demand. There's not enough supply at a position of high demand in this league at quarterback. Every and anybody that's a quarterback that can play at any kind of level will get an opportunity in this league because there's just not enough supply at a high demand position. Okay, Slip, thank you. I didn't think so. He says, Green isn't a free agent. Dude's just talking wildly. I thought so. I was about to say, damn, did I miss something? I could have sworn AJ just signed a new deal like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. Became one of the highest paid receivers in the league. Like, did I miss something? Because I'm like, there's no way he's a free agent already. And if he is, he's not going anywhere. Thank you. I appreciate that, Slip. Because I know that's why I thought they were talking about AJ McCarron and not Green. Cats up here trying to live out fantasies and pipe dreams, man. Y'all stop that nonsense, man. In any event, that was the last comment. Hey, I thank y'all for joining me tonight. It's been fun. Houston gets the win 13-9 over Cincinnati, who still remains touchdownless to start this season. 9 combined points in the first 2 games for the Cincinnati Bengals. Not going to get it done. And now they sit at 0-2 to start this season with a trip out to Green Bay in week 3. Not looking good for Cincinnati. Meanwhile, the Texans find a way to get it done in a gritty performance once again on primetime television versus this Cincinnati Bengals football team. 13-9, get their first win of the season. More importantly, you get your first win with Deshaun Watson at the quarterback position, him making his first career start on his 22nd birthday. Again, congratulations and happy birthday to him for getting his first career victory. And it's a much-needed win because you go to Foxborough next week, and you're going to need this win to just make sure that you aren't 0-3 after that football game. But in any event, I am done for the night. It's been a great telecast, a lot of comments. Appreciate you guys chiming in. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie Tee Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Texans get it done, 13-9. Get me off to a 1-0 start for the week. Feel good about that. And let me check Twitter real quick. Real quick. Nothing there. So, that's going to do it for me. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. What are you waiting on? Okay? Christmas, make it happen. Follow me on Twitter at @InTheLabRoom. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the weekend. Big college football game. I'm not paying attention to college football. The biggest fight in boxing in the last decade is Saturday. You know where the hell your man Louie T's going to be. Okay? So I'll be focusing on Triple G and Canelo, but there will be some Louisville Clemson action for those of you who want to watch some college football. That should be a good game. I'm all over the boxing scene. We'll reconvene on Sunday because you know, Sunday is football day. I'll see you guys then. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Have a good one. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. See you next time. Have a good one.